let's talk about the last ingredient, your pedal board.
Yeah.
Take us boot to bonnet on this thing. Now, who built it?
XTS built this pedal board.
They're the guys.
They're the guys, man. They know everything. And I'm going to apologize to them in advance for this one thing. I had a unit go down and had to just throw something in here. This is not as they built it in one area. We'll get to that. It's at the end of the chain.
When they make a pedal board for you, you feel kind of weird about changing it.
I know.
like mine, I changed some stuff, and I'm like, now it's not as good.
I've tried a couple of times to change little things, and I've always gone back to what we did originally with this.
Right.
And we're in the long process of me building a newer board, which is why I didn't feel compelled to I've been slammed lately, and this Line 6 M5 quit working on me in the middle of a session.
Oh, right.
So I just had to throw something else there for now, and so I apologize to Barry. He's probably going to see this and go like, "That's not my work," But anyway, so they built this. So I'll try and get the signal chain accurately. Let's see. We go in through this little junction box, which starts the signal with this basic audio Scarab Deluxe fuzz pedal. That's been on my boards for a long time. I have 3 or 4 different boards, and that's usually the go-to fuzz that I like. I have a million other fuzzes that I love, but this one it can do a lot of different fuzz sounds.
Yeah.
And it's got tone knobs that I can help the fuzz fit in better with a dense track. And then that goes to the original RC Booster. Have you ever heard of any of those pedals? That nobody ever has those.
Oh, RC Boosters, yeah.
Totally kidding.
They're everywhere.
So I do use it a lot of the times, like other people around here use it, or other people I see, as a clean boost, but I actually like the overdrive on it. I will crank that gain up. It kind of sounds amp-like to me, like a Fender on about 5 or 6. Or
yeah, well, and because you're getting such a great, like, tubey, almost dirty tone anyway.
Yeah.
It's just a little push.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's great. Now, we go to, I believe, the Ibanez Mostortion pedal.
Yeah.
I have been using this pedal for probably 25 years.
God, before they were crazy, right?
Yeah. I have a lot of these because they aren't the most sturdy thing in the world. The jacks go out. The switches are dodgy. The pots.
They had no idea they were going to be around forever.
Right.
I think when they made them, they just were making a...
Yeah.
They had no idea they would become a standard of the industry.
And when they came out, they probably were more sturdy, but now they're old. You know?
Right.
But so I discovered that pedal when I used to play with Delbert McClinton through Leroy Parnell.
Oh.
And I bought these every time they came up on eBay with a buy it now, and I think I probably own like 15 of these things, and I bought them all for like under $100 because nobody wanted them. Yeah. Well, fast forward to when I started getting session work. I wasn't the only player using this, but this is the pedal that I used on everything, like all the early Lady A records, all the just all the records that I was playing on at that time. I just use this all the time, and I get a lot of questions about this because they're so expensive now. Other people are making good versions of this. I'd like to show you these.
Oh yeah, let me show
so
these.
The white one, the 2 white ones.
Okay, two white ones.
White pedals.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I get asked about this a lot. What is a good version of the Mostortion that you don't have to spend whatever $600 to $800 on? So my buddy Greg Droman makes the Karma.
Great producer.
Yeah,
and Fleetwood Mac produced Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. And so he found out about this pedal because I got hired to play on a Randy Houser record that he was engineering. And he kept going, what are you using? What are you using? I love that tone. And I kept showing him this pedal. Well, he went out and bought one. And then when he saw that they were starting to get expensive or hard to find, he thought, well, I'll just make them. And so he modeled this. He kept sending me versions of it, and he finally got it. This sounds great.
No, that's the bass. He made the bass one and the guitar one, and the bass.
Yes.
Yeah, and the bass one you feel is a little closer.
Oh, is this the bass one? Ha! I didn't even notice that I grabbed the bass one. I like them both.
Yeah,
that is the truth.
I've got them both too, and I can't choose. I know they're different, but I don't really prefer one to the other.
I don't either. But I meant to show you the regular one, but I guess this is the one that's migrated to my my case here. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Greg, you nailed it on both of them.
Yeah,
so
Good for
you did.
You did. I mean, and he also makes a great Nobles clone now too, and those have gotten insanely expensive. And then this other guy reached out to me and wanted to do the same thing. He was like, I know you use the Mostortion a lot. I make this thing, and this is the Apollo Audio Devices Sawdust. And man, I gotta say, this sounds great too and captures the essence of what that pedal does. And then if you do have an old Mostortion that you just want to rehouse, there are lots of people here in Nashville that do those. I have a couple of mine rehoused by Justin Butler. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know his name, but I haven't met him.
He does a great rehouse on these things, and it doesn't lose the tone, and it's more sturdy. So yeah. There are options now,
right?
So that's a good thing.
That's cool. I love seeing Greg's pedal.
I know. What a great guy.
Well, and I think the fact that he's such a great engineer, it's just a testament to his ears. He's heard a lot and knew what he wanted.
That's it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the Mostortion has gotten pretty famous on people's pedal boards now.
And the funny thing is, after this interview, they'll be even harder to find.
Maybe so.
That's true. I mean, this stuff actually, it does affect stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody will mention something that's kind of an outlier, and suddenly they're gone from reverb.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've experienced that on the losing ends many times.
Right.
Okay, so I've got this sort of a Clon type of pedal. It's made by Arc Effects. And it's I've had this for a long time, but the difference between this and other ones that were maybe out at the time, there's probably a million of these that do this. It has a bass boost switch, which is more felt than heard. It's very subtle, but it does make a little bit of a difference. I had an original Clon back in the day for about 2 hours. I loved it, I guess, but a friend of mine loved it more than I did and talked me out of it, and whatever. But anyway, all these years later, I do appreciate that sound more now as I record, because it does have a different thing than a tube screamer or something else that when you can't quite hear your sound in the headphones because maybe there's a little bit too much low end or something, this changes that, shifts it over. It seems to shift it over a little bit to where there's just a little less of the low end, and it just shoots through the mix a little bit.
Isn't that interesting how it's like it's usually about what you take away, right?
That's right. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, I was doing a session with a younger guitar player who kept going, how are you getting so forward in the mix? And I said, well, a lot of times I dump the bass all the way off on my amp. Do you ever do that? And I think as guitar players, sometimes we need to hear that's what somebody did,
right? Because
we don't think that's what we should do.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, it's gonna sound too thin. But man, I can't tell you how many times that's the problem.
Right.
Dump the bass, get rid of the low end, and then all of a sudden, by itself, it sounds thin, but in the track, it fits.
Yeah, that's the trick. Because in the room, it might sound amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of times taking less gain sounds more powerful.
Right.
Yeah. AC/DC didn't have a lot of
I
gain.
was just thinking about that. They were not that dirty.
The ultimate example of that.
Yeah.
You know, powerful sound, but not in a rock band.
The rock band.
The rock band.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did a ballad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay, cool. Okay,
so there's
what's the final dirt pedal?
Okay.
Here's what I propose. Let's hear this final one and then go hear them all down the line.
Run through so you got okay, so the Analog Man, King of Tone.
Yeah.
Very popular out there in the world.
Now very hard to find.
Luckily enough, I started onto these before they were very hard to get, and I have a few of them because I need them on different boards to go places. But I love this pedal. I was always I'm not a tube screamer hater. I've always liked tube screamers and dislike them at the same time for a lot of the same reasons that a lot of people will cite. This kind of scratches that itch in a better way for me with more amps. Sometimes I still pull out a tube screamer at home, but here in the studio, this is where I go for anything in that kind of gain range. So that's the gain part of this.
It seems like that's the toughest pedal, right? To get that sort of clean, sort of dirty thing, right?
Yeah, and it's so song dependent.
Yeah,
like every single song, that's what I cycle through more than anything else. Like I usually know the guitar, usually know the amp, and if I need a little bit more hair that I want from a pedal, I have these all hooked up to on-off switches.
Oh yeah. Well, let's hear. Let's start with that fuzz, and let's unleash hell there.
All right, let's see what we get.
First
and of course, it does this thing where it's not working. The switches get dirty on these. Okay, so that's cool, but this has a bias knob, and I use this a lot. So like with a little bit of slapback on it, like it gates out.
Oh, Rob, that's great.
Isn't that cool?
That is so weird.
It does that, and that's cool for like a part in a song. It's like a little ear candy.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so that's the fuzz.
That's the fuzz. Here's here's my bass tone.
Yeah.
Somebody should make a shirt for guitar players. Here's my bass. So clean to the amp. Here's the RC boost with a little bit of. If you notice, I don't have a compressor on this board. I kind of use this a little bit like a compressor. It does something that a compressor kind of does without compressing it.
Yeah.
So that's more the traditional way you would use it, cleaner side of it. But if you want to get into like something that's a little bit more like bluesman territory or like I'm not even in the reverb amp. I'm dumb. Okay, all right, here we go.
Well, you've got a lot of amps going on.
Yeah.
You got a lot of stuff going on. Oh, that's good. It's like Tony Joe White. That's cool.
And I love Tony Joe White. That's some great stuff. So and then let's go to the Mostortion. That's just a nice straight ahead overdrive.
Right, very subtle.
I use it mostly that way. but you can get into like some more. It's just never. The clarity is what I like about that pedal and makes it so usable. It's never in the way of anything. And then if it is, you've got treble, mid, and bass knobs that you can cycle through or change. So here's the sort of Clon pedal. Not too different than the Mostortion on the settings it's on. But but you can get a little more teeth there, and then the Analog Man, the yellow side, is sort of like just a warm, kind of a boost with a little hair. I'm realizing how much I kind of just sound the same on a lot of stuff. But if you turn that gain up a little bit, it gets a nice rhythm tone, like, you know. You can get sort of Stonesy. And then the red side is, I don't know, I guess I kind of use that a lot for slide. If you don't mind, hand me that slide that's sitting back there.
Oh, yeah, right there you go.
This isn't a guitar that I typically would play slide on.
Do you want a different one? I can.
Yeah.
You got a whole bunch of guitars.
355. Right? Let's see. Let's hear
choice.
That guy.
I wanted to hear this thing. I want to hear those PAFs sing a little bit.
Yeah.
I love the Telly, but
let's see what that's Telly's. Yeah, we love a Telly. We love all of it now, but like if you get into a little bit of slide, like.
Oh yeah, that's great.
It's just perfect.
Yeah. Now, what slide are you using?
Oh, okay. This is the rock slide. I just recently discovered this. I don't know if you're like this. How many slides do you think you own?
Thousands.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how many I own.
Yeah.
I mean, I have tried so many different things, and I always kind of came back. I used to use this Chorus Eden bottle, Dwayne style slide.
Right.
It was a real one, and it has a great tone to it. But it was too big always for my fingers, so I just struggled with it for years. Well, this company makes these cool slides that have these sort of ergonomic features. I don't know if you can see this, but they round that out so you kind of, that's where you wear it on your knuckle, so you can actually bend your finger and it's not sticking way up here.
Yeah, that's great.
There's a little indent here on the side where I'm not good at this, but it is there. You can kind of hold it in place with your adjacent finger, I don't know. As soon as I played it, it just solved a lot of my issues that I had to work around all the time to play slide. Like, it doesn't go flying off my fingers when I go back to playing chords or lead, regular lead in the middle of it. It's snug. I don't know, man. It works for me, and I'm really happy that I found out about this.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Anyway.
And it's as similar as some of these sound. When you've got headphones on, and you're really, that's the thing. They sound similar with your cabinet in the other room, but I'm sure that, you get that whole nuance thing.
Oh, yeah.
When you're
Definitely.
in your environment.
Yeah. Like this is very strange for me, for my sound to be like away from me.
Right. Usually it's in your head.
Yeah. Right. But that's the basic drive part of this pedal board.
That's very cool. Very cool to have all those different flavors.
Yeah.
Okay, and then over on the left side, it's the weird stuff.
Yeah. The more the color stuff, I guess. So I have this Electro Harmonix Pog 2. And you know, I mean, I don't use it all that much, but there's I have a bunch of different sounds kind of programmed in there, but there's one that I use and it sounds better than the newer versions to me. I would love to find something smaller that did this the same way.
Right.
But it just I haven't found it yet.
Well, let's hear that magic weird tone.
Okay, all right, here it comes. And this is a sound that at the beginning of, if anybody out there knows the Lainey Wilson song, Things a Man Ought to Know.
Oh yeah, everybody knows that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't take
it's
that.
It's a big hit.
Yeah, a big hit. So the beginning of that song, everybody thinks it's a keyboard.
Yeah.
So but it's
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And that's just 2 octaves up. You know, it's like this way up in the stratosphere. So in a chorus, if somebody, you know, we have keyboard players on every session most of the time. Yeah. So they're usually taking up that part of the mix. Yeah. But when they're not, and there's like a nice... you know, like you can get way up in the stratosphere and have this nice, cool, like little texture. So I've used that sound on a lot of different things. Yeah. Like I said, I wish I could find something. That's mostly what I use that pedal for.
That's cool. Well, it's funny. I did the CMT Awards with Lainey when that was her first single. Yeah. It was the first one she played, and we just had the keys kind of.
Yeah,
I didn't know it.
I've watched that happen on awards shows. Maybe it was the one you're talking. Yeah. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, they think it's a keyboard. I love it.
Yeah, I think our B3 did something weird up there.
Yeah.
I'm like, close enough.
Yeah. Well, it is close enough. I mean, really. I mean, you know. But But that's that. And of course, I've got the EQ pedal. That's one of the best pedals ever made. It's so important.
No, and you've got the Analog Man mod to it, right?
Yes.
So they, I don't know what they do, but I know that's a very common mod. I've got the pre-mod version of that, which is very noisy, and maybe that's one of the things they fixed.
Yeah, it is a little less noisy. It's funny. I got onto this graphic EQ pedal very early on. When I was probably like 18 or something. I don't know why. I don't remember anything about that, but I got it, and the amount of gain you can get with that slider.
Oh yeah.
It was like I didn't know that like people like Eddie Van Halen were using these to boost their signal or whatever. It just like all of a sudden I sounded a little bit more famous. It was like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I shaped the tone drastically, but I have 400 boosted here. I've started to a friend of mine, Chris Donegan. He's another studio guitar player, and Justin Niebank. We both work with that engineer a lot, and like, okay, what frequency should we be boosting for solos? Like, which do you want, or what do you boost when you mix stuff? And he was like, 400. Before he could even finish the sentence. Yeah. Wow. Which I would not have thought.
No.
I would have thought it would have been closer to...
Mids, yeah. I would have thought...
He was like 400.
Wow.
And so I've been trying that a little bit, and I'll be damned if he wasn't right. Like in the headphones, you can really hear the solo has a lot of command in that frequency. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's his thing. Yeah. But I do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. Like I like to really dump a lot, like only mids, and like do like a part that's like, let me turn it on. Or like if you want to get like sort of in like a more of a like.
That's cool.
That kind of thing.
Have you ever tried the one up, one down dobro thing?
No. What is that?
It's just like that. You go like one all the way up, one all the way down, and
all the way through.
All the way through, and it's weirdly dobro-ish.
Okay.
I don't know. Try right now. Let's see what it does.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You're
right. Yeah. It's. I run a dobro through it a lot to make it sound like a dobro. Yeah, right.
I mean, that's obviously done with slide, but well, I'm never changing it now.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, very versatile.
So there's that
weird pedal.
Yeah. And then we go to, I guess, probably this Boss vibrato pedal, which you've already heard me use a couple times throughout.
Yeah, man. And that's so cool. And that's the Waza.
That's the Waza version.
Yeah.
I have an old one at home, and they do have a little bit of a hiss to them. And
right.
I think that this sounds exactly like it. Now, I got onto this because you know Al Anderson from NRB?
Yeah, of course.
So he uses these pedals a lot, and we're Lonnie Mack freaks, and Magnetone was the way Lonnie Mack got that sound, those Magnetone amps, but this is that in a box, but it does a lot more. I mean, I used it on the slower speed. You can hear that waver. Yeah. But if you want to get into Lonnie Mack,
yeah, right.
And you're off to the races with that, which, I love that. Okay, then we go to, I've got the Strymon Timeline pedal. That is, I've had those, I bought these, this is probably from the first run. I as soon as I saw this pedal was coming out, at the time, it was so important to have a delay pedal that was in time to the BPMs of the track.
Right, yeah.
And this was the easiest thing that I could do that with because it has a BPM display. And you can pick the note value and all this stuff. So there's no margin for error on that kind of music where everything is so locked to the grid or whatever, But nowadays, I don't even think about that very often. And a lot of times, the trends have changed.
It was so unforgiving. And I think it's when people were mixing, like engineers were mixing with their eyes rather than their ears and lining everything up. I mean, it's strange when you hear yourself on a record and it doesn't sound like the day you left the session. It got a little less greasy. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like I'm saying something bad. I get it. It's pop music a lot of times. It's not. The personality of how we all groove isn't a lot of times the most valuable thing on that kind of music, and they lock things to the grid, and that's whatever they need to do. But nowadays, we're kind of getting back to a little bit more organic feel, and so a lot of times I'll ask them what the tempo of the song is, just to make sure I'm not, I don't have a delay that's faster than the tempo. I like things that lay back, so like if they tell me, oh, we're at 82 or whatever, I'll dial it back to like 80, and it's just kind of this thing that washes away better in the background of the track. I don't know.
Right.
It's kind of a more of a melty sound.
It is interesting though that trend. Like I remember when we did Steve Lukather's Rig Rundown. Arguably one of the greatest studio players of all time. I mean, just an amazing talent. And his rig, he had, I got a short delay and I got a long delay.
Yeah.
And he didn't worry about it. I'm like, God, okay.
Yeah, well,
what am I worried about?
I mean, and like certain, like if I've got tape echoes, so at home I don't worry about this, but I can't be taking those things all over the place. You'll show up and it won't work. Or a deluxe memory man. Those things, the delay time isn't as important because they have a way of melting into the sound and not creating this super rhythmic thing that distorts the tempo for a pop track.
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. The Strymon, I know it's on everybody's board. I know everybody uses it, but we use it because it gets there. It gets the results quickly, and it does sound good. You can get as weird as you want with this box. So there's that, and then we go over to the Strymon Mobius, which I think is. I love this pedal because the phasers are great. The flangers are great. The chorusing is great. The tremolos are great. I mean, there's all kinds of weird, freaky stuff you can do with this too. The Leslie sound is great.
Huh.
I mean, to me, if you get, this is like, let me dial it to where the switch will do the slow, change the speed. It sounds realistic.
Right, it ramps up and ramps down.
It does it kind of realistically. I have a real Leslie cabinet at home, and this kind of, I feel like this gets as close to that as you can. Nothing's exactly like that. I don't want people to think that I don't know the difference or that there isn't a difference. There is, but this isn't, however many hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And it fits, and you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we go over to the Strymon Flint reverb and tremolo pedal. I love the tremolo on this. I have a love-hate relationship with the reverb on it, but as I said, that would normally be a Line 6 M5, which is you can have the Line 6 M9. It's a single pedal version of all the things in the Line 6. Well, the thing I rely on that most for is probably reverbs, as far as in relation to everything else.
Because they've got everything.
It's got everything, and there's a lot of great things in the Line 6 stuff. I love the Line 6 M9, and I like the HX effects too. My new pedal board will probably have the HX effects on it, but this is something that I've just been using until I have all the new board, or in place of the M9 right now. It's got really good reverbs. It does, but the spring reverb, if I need that, I go to the Deluxe.
Right.
That's the real thing.
Do you find that you generally have, like when you're through the Deluxe, do you always have a little bit of verb going through it, or do you ever just leave it just dry?
Oh yeah, totally. I do leave it dry a lot, probably more often than not. But when it does call for some reverb, no one ever gets mad about the spring reverb in the amp.
Right. To me, it's just such a confidence builder to hear a little bit of it all the time. It's just so.
Okay, when you first put on headphones and tried to play, it's the weirdest thing because you have no room sound.
Yeah, right.
And all the guitar sounds that I love, typically, unless it's a direct sound, there's some kind of room miking involved.
Right, yeah.
And so we like to have that.
Yeah.
And there are great plugins that they can put, that I sometimes will have an engineer put that on just to give me a little bit of space, but they may want it dry in the final product or something. But it's such a blanket.
Oh yeah, man.
I love reverb, and if I play live, it usually comes down to what amp has reverb. That's the one I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we can hear that. I mean, this. That's not bad at all.
No, great.
That's not bad. It really does sound good. And the longer reverbs and the more the 80s style reverb, if you want a real lush thing like this, you can get that. If you're doing a really long,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
dreamy.
It does have some good stuff in there. I know there's a million other great reverb pedals. I have a bunch at home, but that's what's on here right today, this second. So let's turn that off, and why did this stop working? This isn't even powering on. Oh, the power cord got yanked. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm no engineer, but.
Yeah. The Bluetooth on this analog delay pedal Okay, so that's a little drastic on the. So everybody loves a Memory Man pedal.
So this is the Diamond Memory Lane.
Diamond Memory Lane. These have been out a long time. I don't even know if they still make these. So they probably make them in a smaller box, different thing now, I guess. This is one of the OGs. Nice modulation.
Yeah.
It's very Memory Man-esque. Not a replacement, but a good alternative. And
probably way quieter.
Yeah. And if you have the power cable in, it works every time.
Right.
So, great slap back.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's
great, man. What a setup.